Hi and welcome to the GTeX show, the place where we grow exponentially. My name is Simone Vincenzi and I'm the co-founder of GTeX. Today you're really in for a treat. If you're looking for change something in your life, it might be relationship, it might be a change in your career or a change in your health. Today we have a GTeX show, Beckles Ebusua, the change maker, and he's going to talk through about the small distinction that can really make the difference for you to get back from the old habit to really make the change you're looking for. So stay tuned. Hi and welcome to the GTeX show. Here is Simone Vincenzi and I have the honor to introduce tonight Beckles Ebusua, the change maker.
Welcome. It's great to be here. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much for being here. And well, just out of the blue, Steve is a great friend of mine and great mentor as well. We met each other delivering a workshop for Future Foundation.
Oh, gosh,
right?
I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, going back in time.
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
And what happened that he was delivering this talk, and I was so impressed about your way of public speaking and your style and your level that at the moment I was really at the beginning of my career and I looked you up and say, oh my God, this is really an idol. And so we started doing a bit of work with your other organization that is Citizen
Intentions, that's right. And I think it was, for me, I was at that point of growth as well. So obviously come across yourself and was speaking about the way you can speak and different techniques of speaking. It was good to meet yourself as well. And I think you grow with others. And I think that's what happened with Serious Intentions. And I remember coming to a number of schools with it as well. So that whole thing was like an experience with itself. Because with young people, you know, you're dealing with a whole different concepts of thinking. It was good.
Exactly, and this is how we met, with working with young people, and it's something that we have in common, is a great passion.
That's right.
We are making this impact in the young people's life. And now, today we are talking about change, isn't it?
This is it, change, yeah.
Change.
I think it's what life's all about, ultimately. I read once, the only thing permanent in life is change. And for me, I had to make that change. I had serious intentions, which I still have, but there was a change in environment, and the government had different funding streams. And what I found is that schools that had a lot of money initially for organisations like myself to deliver programmes dwindled away. And schools were in that position where they couldn't afford perhaps have external agencies in to deliver programmes. So I had to change. I realised I had to perhaps set up an organisation that could apply for funding. But at the same time, deep down inside, I kind of thought to myself, I want to be working with adults. And the reason I came up with that conclusion, I just think at the end of the day, ultimately, it is the adult world we're living in. The youth is very important and they're growing, but they're learning from adults. And I think ultimately it's looking at changes that you can make within adults, which consequently will pass them on to young people. So that's where I was at, you know.
Right, yeah. So making a change in adults then will impact also the life of
most
people.
Most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And I believe that this message is resonating a lot. And you're really a living example from this change that you made from serious intention to the change maker about the concept of change.
That's right.
And just a little note about Steve as well. He's also a fantastic author. He wrote five books.
We're at number 6 at the moment.
You're at number 6 at the moment?
Okay. But it's all very passion driven. It's really funny because when people do say, you know, you write loads of books, etc. But what I kind of think to myself, I think in each part of life that you have, it's important to have a record of it. I think a lot of people might write reports, a lot of people might have diaries just to say, I accomplished this, I accomplished that. I suppose what I did is really just put that time of my life together and thought, why not make a book of it? And nowadays, I think there's a perception of people writing books being a very complex and difficult thing to do, but it isn't. And it's all linked with Create a Space, Amazon, which did a lot in people that want to self-publish. So, you know, I'm not doing myself down. Yeah, the books I've written, I've loved, I've enjoyed, but at the same time, it's all been out of passion where I've been in my life. And
I think this is really a message for everyone who's listening here, that it's not difficult to write a book.
It's all doable. Right? It's all doable.
I wrote a book myself, and I said, one day I was like looking up, saying, oh my God, Steve, I've already 5 books. I just got a right one. And as he said, it wasn't such a pain. And there are so many ways where you can self-publish your book.
That's right, yeah.
Get your message out there.
I was about to say, I think the thing is what often holds people back is all the complex issues that might occur in writing a book. But if you've got a passionate reason to make a change, you'll make the change. And I think if you've got a passionate reason to put something together so other people can read it, for it to make a difference in their lives, write a book is no big deal. Yeah. And I think that's the way you've got to look at life. You've got to look at the, rational reason to change. Dr. Wayne Dyer talks a lot about that. What's your rational reason to change? And once you find it, you think, well, why can't I do this? And that's what this is about.
That's really great. So about putting your message out there, who you really are. What is the message that you really want to share with the world?
Yeah, that's right.
There in these pages, so other people can read and can learn from it.
Yeah, and it's something I always say to people is that nowadays, if you look at the reality of books, I mean, you can get audio books, you can get video books, which you can actually watch. And once you understand, it's about untapping that kind of hidden amount of information you don't know and learning it. I always say readers are leaders and leaders are readers, And I think when you look at life like that, you think, wow. And it's not about quoting from whoever, Karl Marx, whoever. It's about you being you and letting whatever you've read become you. So whenever you speak, you might come up with a quote from, I don't know, Carl Jung or Friedrich Nietzsche, but not because you're doing it to impress, but you're doing it because I've just been reading it for so long, and that particular statement is relevant to the conversation we're having. Do you see what I mean? So it's important.
And as I remember, quote is a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You do something amazing every Saturday.
Well, that's right. I send motivational texts out every Saturday morning. I think it's about 2 years now.
Yeah.
And it just got to a point, I think when it first started, I read a book, it was by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he spoke a lot about change. And for things to change, you must change. And it was just such a powerful quote. I thought, you know what, let me just kind of send this to the people that I know. I know a handful of people I knew. Through starting my business up, Pursuits Intentions, people have signed on to my motivational text list. So I then sent it to them. And then all of a sudden I started to get feedback. And I thought, this can really go places. And so all of a sudden I found myself each week having to, not so much think of something, but being creative. So it was growing me. And I often got texts from people saying, Steve, thanks for that text. It really helped me. And I thought, you don't know how it actually helped me. Because the reality is I've looked into myself and thought, well, what can I put in this text this week? So from that, I then, dare I say, created a book from it. Because that's what it's about. Create a book from it, 101 motivational quotes, and there's a book. And so, again, people say, you've written all these books. Have I? Or have I just put together something I enjoy doing, so something else can see it? Do you see what I mean? So, it's enjoyable. I think that's what life should be.
And for me, Saturday is not a Saturday without your motivation. I got this message, and I went for this Saturday. Okay, let's see what Steve is writing today. And it really sets up the day. It really sets the day, it says the weekend, it says the week. You're like, is there. So, Steve, I would love to share, to see a bit of your journey.
Yeah.
Where you came from, before even serious intention. What were you doing, and how did you come up with becoming a speaker, author, and coach?
Yeah, well, very good questions. I mean, these are kind of questions I often say to myself when I am where I am, because I came from a very dark place. What I mean by that, I was in a place where I didn't know where I was, if that makes sense. I used to be an engineer, repairing office equipment, amongst other equipment. And I realised I didn't enjoy the job, but I realised later on that I didn't have to have that type of life. There was another form of life. And I talk a lot about it in talks when we talk about change, but it was a belief that I had to have a job that perhaps I didn't like. I had to dread Mondays and I had to look forward to Fridays. I thought that's just the way it is because that's how everyone was. So why would I think differently? Until I just saw this job advertised looking for a mentor. The money was a lot less, but I needed to get away. I needed to get out. And the job I was in, I remember repairing various equipment in the office, and I just wasn't very good at it. And you know when your confidence is very low, when you're doing something, when you're doing it, you'll know you're not doing it very well.
Yeah.
And consequently, that machine will come in, it's broken again, it's broken again. So I just had to get out. So I applied for a job as a mentor for a school in Enfield called Kingsmead School. And I remember the first day actually starting at this school, and we had to give an assembly just about the new role of mentors, because mentors were quite new.
Yeah.
And I remember standing in front of about 200, 300 young people. They were year sevens, and we had to explain why we were mentors, why we were there. And there was three of us, and I remembered we hadn't elected who was going to speak, but three of them stepped back, so therefore I was just the one standing in front. And I realised that I was the one who had to speak. And I had a sheet of paper in my hand. I remember it was just shaking as I was reading it. But I got about to the first sentence, and then all of a sudden something happened. And it was a feeling of talking to you now, but an extra 299 young people as well. And it was like amazing. I just spoke. And I said, hi, my name is Beckles Ebusua. I'm a mentor with these other guys as well. We're here to change your lives because we know we can make a difference. And it went on and on and on and on. And I think it got to a point where the headmaster and the band was going, you know, because I was just in a flow.
Yeah.
That's my first sign, the first signal thing in my mind, realising that I was very good at something, but it needed to be honed in. I was at Kingsmead School doing various roles, doing some teaching as well. Loved the role. But I then thought of the analogy of a straitjacket. I was going to ask you if you've been in a straitjacket, but then that'd be another story if you said you had been. But just imagine being in a straitjacket. If you have, we can talk about it later on. But just imagine being in a straitjacket and unable to move your arms. Yeah. And I felt a little bit like that. I felt that I couldn't move. I was given particular tasks to do with the young people, but only to a certain point. And I felt I couldn't become myself. I needed loosening from that straitjacket. I then started to talk to the head teacher about doing a different role. And he said I could be involved in alternative provision. Now, these are young people that perhaps weren't going to get their GCSEs, weren't going to get good grades, so they'll be given alternative provision, so they'll be working perhaps with mechanics, maybe with hairdressers, because they won't get the GCSEs, but give them those life skills. Yes. Now, there's the key. Because what had happened, they would go away on site, and I would make sure that they were attending, and they were punctual, and everything was going okay. Now, within the school they were okay, but in the work environment, that's what the challenges were. Yeah, Jamie's a great worker, but unfortunately he often turned up late. His communication wasn't that well, wasn't that good. He was also influenced by his friends whenever they came to, which wasn't good, Steve. This was a pattern that happened over about 3 or 4 months until eventually the penny dropped. I realised I had a role to play. I had to create something to empower these young people to do what they're doing better with life skills. So I just created some life skills. I created a respect program. I remember the first one I created, and I delivered the program on site, which was great, a great feeling, because I had my laptop open and so right guys are doing respect, blah blah blah, what's respect, blah blah, and what I found is that their reaction to me and consequently their behaviour improved, and they had a better perception of what was expected of them. This grew, and so therefore I was writing programs on a basis where I would write programs on peer pressure, on communication, on respect. I thought, wow, I could do this on my own. So I said to my head teacher, I said, look, you know, I would like to possibly reduce my hours down to maybe two days a week, and so I could spend 3 days on my business. And the head teacher said, okay, let me think about it. He then sent an email out to every teacher in the school announcing that Mr. Beckles Ebusua has a decision to make. He either decides to work full-time or he furthers his pursuits in setting up his own business. It's his choice. Now that was a serious, serious question because he had sent it to every teacher in the school. So was I going to back down and say, you know what, it was a bad idea, 2 days, I'm sorry, I should never have mentioned it. Or do I say, I'm prepared to go and set up my own business. And I took the latter. And when I tell people about that story, they say, "God, head teacher, how do you do such a thing?" But you know what? It's the best thing that's ever happened in my life. And you know, sometimes in life you need to be pushed. And that's what he did. Because he really gave me no option. But he did give me an option. I could have said, "I'm going to go back and do what I want to do," but I didn't. And I took his challenge.
Like, it testing you.
It was testing me.
Like, are you committed to take this choice so much to face it like in front of everyone?
That's what he was doing.
Yeah.
And you know, I think he knew my ability, and I think he knew he had to do that.
And then from there, you set up serious intentions, working with hundreds of schools.
Loads of schools across the country, setting up programs with schools in partnership, working with unemployment agencies, working with colleges, universities, doing keynote speaking. You know, it just exploded.
And then from there has been another step.
Yeah, the change.
Another change, which I would say.
Yeah, what you said. You know, it's really interesting because I realised that for things to change, you must change. And I think when you get into that mindset of, well, everything's going okay, and I shouldn't have any problems here, I should be fine, that's where the problems occur. Because we become comfortable. And even the word comfort makes you feel, in reality, you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah? So that analogy of maybe not sitting here, but always on the edge of the seat. And a lot of people in life will think, well, that's not life. But life is about the variation. That's what life's all about. So for me, I moved to the edge of the seat, and I realised I had to make a difference, I had to make a change. And as I said earlier about the adult field, and the reason why I think the change was necessary for serious intentions, I created the Change Maker about a year and a half ago. And I was a coach really, I was also an author. I was doing speaking, and it was just the next step. It was the next step. But I realised I had to go through some stages of my life, which are the steps that we're no doubt going to move on to, which has become my program. So the stages: habits, awareness. How aware are you? I wasn't aware of other things I can do. What's that saying? You know what you know what you don't know, but you don't know what you don't know. And I think that was my situation. I didn't know what I didn't know. And so awareness was a big thing for me. And then finally, it was action. I think it was Einstein that said that nothing happens until something moves. And I think so many of us in situations where we're thinking, yes, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to get out of this seat, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to make all the No, I'm not going to get out of this seat. I'm going to change people's lives. I'm going to set up my business. I hate that boss, but I'm not moving out of this seat. And you know, when I hear quotes, I'm always quoting all the time for these things that are so relevant. You know, the best thing to do is the right thing. The next thing to do is the next thing. And the worst thing to do is nothing at all. And I think in that mindset, I had to do something. So Changemaker was created. And Changemaker is really about making changes in people's lives, their businesses as well. And I've been fortunate enough to be in that position to work with a lot of people at the moment in my coaching field, as well as delivering workshop programs around change. And my biggest change was my divorce. I learned a lot about myself. I realised that change was occurring around me and I wasn't aware. So that was a very important thing for me. And I applied my 4 steps to that situation. My beliefs, what were my beliefs? What beliefs now do I now have to have? What habits did I have before that maybe I need to change? How was I aware of what was going on in my life, in my relationship? And what action should I take? What action now will I take? You know, so all of those factors played an important part to that massive change in my life.
And then what happened?
Well, what can I say? I can say now I'm in a very, very happy relationship with my.
So now we are here talking about change. So what is that you can recommend to other people that are going through this period of change in their life?
I think the most important thing is to look at first of all, your belief. Anthony Robbins once says your belief determines your attitude. Your attitude determines the way you feel. And the way you feel determines the way you act. So consequently, your belief is going to determine your actions. Look at what you're believing in yourself. Because if you don't believe you can change, for example, you won't. It's very superficial. And I talk a lot about your conscious and your subconscious mind. Your conscious is only 10%. 90% is subconscious. And that 10% you can call that choice of wanting to change. But that 90% is the subconscious saying, hey, we're come on, we've known you for years. This ain't going to work. Lo and behold, it doesn't. So first of all, I always start from belief, and that's always my first step. I talk about what are your beliefs, and are they true? That's the question you've got to ask yourself. Are your beliefs true? Because the beliefs that you have been built up over a period of time by people that are around you. And if you have people around you that constantly have a mindset of you can't achieve, it can be very difficult, or you're too old, you're too young, it's going to be too difficult, it's going to be too risky. These are all things that are fed to us. So therefore the thought of change is not something you're going to invite.
Yeah. And then, what else?
Well, I always recommend, once you have the belief, you then have to look at the habits that you've got.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the second step. So the first
step,
second step, habits.
Well, the habits that we've got, what do you do habitually? Yeah. And a lot of us go through stages in our lives where we do things we don't even think about. I think it was Carl Jung that once said that the subconscious mind is only dangerous when its attitude towards it becomes hopelessly false. So what that actually means is that you get to a stage where you don't even question what you do habitually. You don't even question. Yeah, so you just go through life without even looking back to see if it's true. And I think it's William Wordsworth once said, isn't it? Habits rule the unreflecting herd. So again, same thing. You've got the habits, and you don't even reflect to see what you've done. And that's where the challenge comes in. Because how would you change if you've got a belief that perhaps you don't believe in?
Yeah.
You've got habitual patterns that are just in you, and you don't believe they can change, so you always do the same thing. Why would you change?
Yeah. So from there, then from your habit, then what's next? What can you recommend for other people to look at?
The most important thing is to be aware of the circle that you're in. Because whatever circle you're in is who you are. So my next step will be awareness. So how aware are you about what's going on in your life and about the people that are around you? And again, it's the effect that people have to you, with you, that you're not even aware of it. For example, again, how the subconscious mind works is when you have something in your mind that you sing a song that you've never heard before. Yeah, and you might even sing a song that you don't like. Every time you sing a song you don't like, you think, where did that come from? Why? And often we're not aware of what we're listening to. It's one of the biggest things I often talk about is the medium. We do need the medium, social media in particular. We can talk about it if we didn't have it. But the media in particular have an agenda. They have a business to sell. And the 5 points they sell are sex, crime, racism, violence, and money. They're the 5 things they sell. So how aware are you when you pick up your free newspaper of that information being fed to you? Because what it does, it feeds into your fears, feeds into the habits that you might have. See, I'll never go for that job because look at the unemployment. It then becomes a part of your belief. So your awareness locks in with your habits, and your habits are the basis of everything that comes in from your belief.
Right. So this is like this sliding scale of starting from the awareness and what we feed in our mind, in particular in our subconscious mind, then to go up until our belief system. That is actually what driving our behavior.
Exactly.
And I can definitely relate with that. I made a conscious decision a couple of years ago to never watch TV again. And I completely threw away my TV because it wasn't serving me anymore. I didn't want this something that I wasn't in control of to get into my subconscious mind. Does it make sense?
It does.
And then from there, so from the awareness of the environment, What's the next step?
It's a big thing, and I think it's something that often challenges all of us, and it's action. And I think
that's a big one. That's a big one.
That's a big one, isn't it? Because to take action is to move from one state to another. And I think one of the things I've realised in life that if you don't take action, it's not going to make any difference of those 3 steps previous to, because you have to do. And we learn by doing. And, you know, when you understand that whatever you're going to do, whether you do it or not, you have to do something. And I think once you've made that step, everything else then falls into place. And even if you make the wrong step, it's the right step, because you know what to do with that wrong step. If you do nothing at all, it's a big problem. And I remember Winston Churchill used to say that procrastination equals perfection. Because often we procrastinate just to get it right. But ultimately, nothing will happen. Yeah? So it's looking at what we're procrastinating. And a lot of times we procrastinate because it's trying to get it right, trying to get it perfect. But you actually procrastinate, you're not doing anything. So the reality is to take action. And what I aim to do throughout all of my steps is to make sure that you're taking steps for each stage of beliefs, habits, awareness, and ultimately action.
So it's like procrastination leads a bit to stagnation.
Of course.
That's what. And this your job is amazing. Like this work, the work that you're doing with people is amazing, because I'm sure that anyone really can relate here. In a moment in their life when wanted to change, but then keep falling back, keep falling back, and not having this 4 step, not having the right belief, not having the right habits, not having the right awareness, and not taking any action. Actually, it's not going to lead them anywhere.
Of course.
And I'm sensing actually that if there is a fallacy in one of those steps, that's where the fallback happens. Can you confirm that?
Most definitely. Because I think what will happen is that you might have the belief, but you still have the habitual way of behaving.
Yeah.
So therefore, the awareness is not going to go anywhere, and action surely won't go anywhere. So again, that stumbling block was with the habits. Say you've got the habits, say you've got the beliefs, you've got the habits, but you haven't got the awareness. So you get this far, you get rid of the habits, but you're not aware of the circles you're keeping. You're not aware of the stuff that you could be reading that could be really making a difference for yourself. You're not aware of perhaps some of the stuff that is pulling you down. Yeah, that's affecting your mindset. You're not aware of the stuff that can actually change the way you look at things. So we could talk about maybe reading different stuff. It could be being involved in certain groups, etc. It could even be the relationship you're in, which is affecting you. So that's a big problem. And needless to say, if you've got all 3, but you haven't got action, it's a waste of time.
It's just like you've done all this work. Now, for the sake of God, I just take the action.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
It's just do it, yeah. And that's really the importance of those 4 steps. So yeah, you try and flip it around the other way, and you take action without the other 3 completed. You're acting without belief. You're acting out without a habitual way of knowing your conscious and subconscious mind what to focus, what not to focus on, and you have no awareness. So you're jumping into a lion's den and you're being mauled, which is just going to wear you down after a while. So you take all this action, but then you're not getting anywhere, and you're bound to then deteriorate, and you will never get the results you want. So you do need all 4 of these steps.
Great. So for everyone, take all these 4 steps. If you want to make a change, anything you want to make, is really, really important. So make sure you have in place all these 4 steps for every change you want to make. And Steve is going to share with us at the next GTeX workshop, really in a practical way, not just in theory, but really how you can make happen, and how you can change your beliefs, how you can be aware, how you can change your habits, really the how to. And just because we want to give you as much value as we can, what can you suggest about one tool that people can use just for the first step?
Yeah.
For a pattern in a belief. So let's say I want to change my belief about health. I'm like, I don't eat enough healthy food. I want to get into a more healthy regime. Yeah. What would you say?
I'd just first answer that question that most of us probably we think about. I'll ask this question. So, for example, you've got a problem with not eating healthy food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? I'll ask you this question. Are you 100% sure that you would never eat healthy food? Can you be 100% sure you would never? So you've got a problem of eating unhealthy food, mm-hmm. right? Would you say you would be 100% sure that you would not eat any healthy food?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
So you can't be 100% sure. Okay. Let's flip that around. Yeah. So flip it around. Can you be 100% sure you will be eating unhealthy food
100%.
all the time? Can you be? No.
No.
Okay. So there are two beliefs. Okay. So I've asked you two beliefs. There are two thoughts that you've got. Okay. Which thought of those two will bring you closer to what you would like to occur in your life? Which two thoughts? The thought that you are 100% sure eat healthy food, or the thought you're 100% sure that you'll eat unhealthy food? Which one will take you closer? Right. Yeah. Okay. So that would be just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, both of these things, these two things, are just thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. And you can choose which thought works for you. Okay. Mm-hmm. You've chosen a healthy option. Okay. In choosing a healthy option, tell me, just imagine how would you feel if you could eat on a constant basis healthy food? Tell me how you would feel.
I would just feel great. I would feel vibrant. I would feel alive, full of energy.
Okay. And how would people feel about you, by the way you feel about yourself? How would you radiate to them?
They would feel great. I mean, obviously, if I'm in a really good positive state, they will respond and they will see, and they will respond to the way I am.
Okay, just stop there. Now, I know you're quite a handy type of person, but I just noticed when I first asked that question, how would you feel? Initially, you just leant back, your shoulders dropped, because you took yourself there, simply by the thought. Right. And what I'm asking you is if you could hold that thought throughout when you're eating, whatever food you're eating, remembering the thought, how you would feel, and how people would feel about you, how would you then feel about yourself?
It's great.
So what I'm simply saying, there's just two thoughts. Now you took yourself there. It's taken about 3 minutes, if that. To take yourself from a state of I eat unhealthy food to a state of I eat healthy food. I feel great. All through a thought.
And it's just all in there.
That's right.
Just take a second.
Yeah, just take a second. So that's something I do in my workshop, and it's in greater detail because we talk about responsibilities and other things to tie that in closely. But I use that regularly to myself. If I'm saying something negative to myself, I say, are you 100% sure, Stu, that this thing that hasn't worked never works for you? Are you 100%? Does that happen all the time? Yeah. No, it's not 100%. Okay, flip it around. Can you be 100% sure that everything's going to go right for you? No, I can't say that right now. So what two thoughts, what one of these two thoughts would bring you closer to how you really want to feel? It's almost that feeling that everything's going to go right. And they're just thoughts, so which one did you take?
So you're constantly challenging yourself. Constantly to take a really a next step and a next step.
Exactly, and constantly build on that, well, I'm not 100% sure, but would I take the positive one? I'm not 100% sure about this, but if I take this one, the positive, and gradually you begin to kind of eradicate the negative feelings that you have, that we all have about ourselves. And it ties up, because it's just a single example, but then it will tie up with habitual behaviour, because that thought has to now drop into your subconscious mind. Because at the moment it's just the conscious. Right? The conscious is just what we've just spoken about. Yeah. Okay? But that needs to drop into the subconscious so it sits there. So subconsciously now, as you're breathing, your heart's pumping, you've got no idea how that's happening. What I'm saying to you, if you can put those same thoughts into where the things that happen to you naturally that you're thinking about in a positive way, just imagine what your life would be.
Yeah.
It's worth a thought.
That's not gonna share it. Okay, out of the blue, but in a real place.
That's what we're talking about. Making that change.
Yeah, and now you have a process. Now you have a structure for something that you have that you want to change. Keep questioning it. Keep using this question. Keep questioning yourself in this way. and do it over and over and over again. So this is the way where you can really see all these thoughts, new empowering thoughts in your mind, like repetition, repetition.
Ask yourself all the time,
yeah,
are you 100% sure? Yeah, in any feeling that you have, which is a negative one, and often we label ourselves, which is another thing we talk about in beliefs, but ask yourself, you know, you make a mistake, I'm always doing that. Are you always doing that? Do you always do it? Do you always make that mistake? No. So it's a belief that's not true. Flip it around the other way, make it positive. Can you be guaranteed that you're always going to get it right? No, you can't say that either. But the two thoughts are just thoughts. Choose which one that works for you, obviously the positive one, and keep going through that process until eventually it becomes a way of being.
Oh, great. Really, thank you for that.
No,
and make sure I personally will question myself, am I 100% sure? Am I 100% not sure? That's what's true. And you know, being a coach, I know a lot of tools and I've heard about a lot of tools, but honestly, this one sounds pretty new to me. So thank you very much for sharing that.
That's it.
I will use it. I will use it and see also in my practice if I can.
Please do. Please do.
Now, a big part of your life are mentors. And you said before that readers are leaders and leaders are readers.
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that you read a lot.
I do, but it's relative.
Yeah.
It's relative because you say I read a lot compared to who? Just like when I hear people say, "Oh, that guy's a genius." Look at it. So I think sometimes again, and memes is something I'd like to talk more about, but that's on the workshop. So be there. Yeah.
You gotta go.
Gotta go. A lot of stuff to do with memes. It's amazing. But we buy into using terminology to put ourselves in a particular position in life, and we'll be very careful. For me, yeah, reading is very important. I tend to grow myself by learning from people that are doing what I want to do. Dr. Wayne Dyer is a mentor of mine. I think I grew into Dr. Wayne Dyer in his approach to life, his spiritual approach to life. And it made me realise that one of his sayings are, for things to change, you must change. And when you change the way you look at something, the thing you look at changes. So you'll notice the theme there is change and the change maker. So, you know, when you hear Dr. Wayne Dyer talking about change, I'm thinking, whoa, this guy I need to listen to. And I've read so many of his books. Excuses Be Gone, Wishes Fulfilled, are two that I do read and constantly refer back to as well.
Yeah.
What is it about him?
Yeah,
I just think, his message is all about being still and knowing. And what he means by that in life, often you just have to sit back and just be. Yeah, just be. Because what happened, life doesn't stop, it still carries on. And often, and this is part of the awareness going on in the workshop I talk about, is that often we can't be aware because of the life we lead. 9 to 5, hustle, bustle, so many things going on, mortgage payments, children, partner, wife, you know, all of these things going on, and it's often very difficult to be. I remember reading a book about awareness, and there was a guy called Thich Nhat Hanh wrote this book about awareness, and he was looking for his keys, and his sensei was seeing him looking for his keys frantically because he can't. And his sensei eventually said, Thich Nhat, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he said, I can't find my keys, sensei. I can't find my keys. And he said, no, that's not true. It's Thich Nhat cannot find himself. And what he meant by that is Thich Nhat had lost himself. In that frantic trying to find his keys, he'd lost himself. And awareness is about being. And Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about when you walk, to be aware of when you breathe out as you step. Now that's deep stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you were to ask some of your friends last time they did that, they'd think you'd gone out of your mind. Why the hell would I want to do that? But it takes you to another level.
Yeah.
Because you start thinking and movement and how you move. And am I breathing on an out-breath, on in-breath as I step? And when you can take yourself to that point, you then become aware that ego has no place. And the saying is, ego and awareness cannot exist in the same space. Again, in the workshop, we talk a lot about ego, because the ego holds us back.
Yeah.
Ego's about who I am, what I am, what people will say about me. And that often stops us from being who we want to be. Because I talk about when we're born at source, we're a pure state. My daughter, she's 13 months. She has no ego. She will pick up anything.
She's amazing, by the way.
She's unbelievable. If she doesn't like you, she'll look in your face and cry in your face. Can you imagine if adults did that? What a place that could. Can you imagine? Exactly. And the world would be a noisier place, but it'd be a greater place because we're being honest. But obviously, in society, we're not like that. And we hit the age of 7, 8, 9, ego kicks in, and it changes us as people. We're no longer at source. We are what we have, what we am, what we are. And so many people become depressed when they lose their jobs because they are their jobs.
Yeah, they are their jobs, they are what they have. They can't find any more like in who really, like what is inside.
Exactly. So it's very important. And Dr. Wayne Dyer is these guys that talks about the ego and how you can. He talks about suppressing it, and in the workshop I talk about arresting it. And just arresting it, because ego will always be there in my opinion, but it's about arresting ego. You know, and I go through some steps to arrest ego, because once you do that, you then can get closer to awareness.
So again, if you want to know the steps to arrest the ego,
I'm getting excited as I talk about it.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to the workshop.
Yeah.
And it's really amazing having you here, because this is the first actually episode of the GTeX show, and you actually opened the first GTeX event. The first day of the GTeX event, it was like on the stage.
Right.
So it's a really nice circle, nice pattern. I'm really passionate about seeing patterns. Right? So I was observing this pattern. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
it's so amazing.
Yes, it is definitely.
And it's great sometimes, like just staying with you, like. I really encourage you to come at the workshop, because just the energy of Steve when he says peace, still and no, and when he talks about Tin Han, just the energy that he really emanates from his being is it's just so calming and relaxing. I feel really feel safe, and I think this is a gift, in particular from the work and the mission that you have in life in supporting people through change. Having this capability and to create this space for them. So again, this is all for us tonight. It's been great to have Steve Beckles Ebusua, the change maker here, and not just a speaker but a great friend.
Most definitely.
Which it's been a really fantastic opportunity.
Well, it has been a pleasure. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, and you know, for me, I love to be in a position to be able to speak about these things and about how things are changing their lives. And you know, I'm not one that kind of says be there or be square or whatever, but I am a great believer that often you have to be in a place to realise you should have been there before.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you just have to be in that environment. So, it would be great, obviously, to see you down and just hear more about, you know, yourself, rather than perhaps my calming influence, but really find out about yourself, because when that happens, change occurs.
Yeah. So Steve is going to speak at GTeX on the 4th of March at the Grand in Trafalgar Square. The event is at 7 p.m. It's going to be a great event full of hands-on experience. This is how we are different from the other. We're not just the speaker that blah blah blah. Okay, that's great. We learn in this way, but we learn even better when we are doing things, when we are repeating over and over again, so we can make these changes at a belief level. right? So we can literally take the first step on making the change that we want to make in life. So if you're looking for changing your relationship, your career, starting up your new business, and you are in this transition where you really start and then fall back, like I've been there so many times. This is really the workshop that is for you. So I invite you to take a ticket, and we really look forward to see you there at the workshop. So for the GTeX show is everything for today. And again, thank you very much for being with us and for watching this show. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you very much indeed.
And give me a high.
Take care.
Ciao.
Thank you very much.